Welcome back to FHC Tactical. It is a glorious 95-degree day here in Alabama, 65% humidity. I'm drenched just trying to set everything up. So just give you an idea how this day is going. But we're back on our series of trying to find the best all-around 9mm for self-defense. And how we're judging that, we're going to run it through 3 different test lengths on our pistols. And we're hoping to get consistent performance across the board. 12 to 18 optimal on our penetration. We want to get really good expansion. We want it to be consistent. So we're going to run it through those 3 different ones. We've already ran a HST 124 plus P. We'll leave a link for that. And last week we ran the Gold Dot 124 plus P. We'll leave a link for that one as well. But today we're going to run the Critical Defense, Hornady Critical Defense 115 grain with the FTX projectile. And as usual, we're going to run it out of the same test barrels. We've got the Hellcat Pro comp with the 3.7-inch barrel. With that comp built in, though, it's going to run probably closer to about a 3.4, 3.5-inch test barrel. Secondly, we're going to run it out of our Springfield Echelon with the 4.5-inch barrel. And lastly, just like the other one, is going to be the Armalite 8.5-inch barrel pistol. That's our home defense pistol here. And that's going to be our 3 test lengths. And like we said, we're trying to find something that I can buy and run in all 3 instead of having to buy different ammo for each one. So that'll give you an idea of what we're looking for. And as far as our test setup, it's going to be the same as normal. We're going to get a 5-round average velocity through our chrono. We'll run some numbers there, and then we'll set up our gel at about 12 yards. It will have a 4-layer clothing barrier with it, 1 layer of denim, a layer of fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. So that gives you an idea on the setup. We've already ran 1 test today in our 5.56 series for self-defense ammo. I'll also leave a link for that one as well. So we're going to try to get everything set up here and get it going. All right, up first for the 115 grain critical defense, we've got the Hellcat Pro comp. .1059, 1065, 1053, 1058, 1062. That is 5. Up next, we've got our Springfield Echelon. 1123, 1132, 1128, 1117, 1122. That is 5. All right, last one up for the critical defense 115 grain is our AR pistol. Here we go. 1180, 1199, 1203, 1192, 1179. That is 5. Okay, real quick, we're going to get out of the heat for a few minutes while we look at these numbers. So out of the Hellcat, we had an average velocity of 1059, the extreme spread of 12, and standard deviation of 4. So it was really consistent across the board. I think out of all 3 barrels this round was. But if we compare it to the HST and the Gold Dots that we've already tested, out of the HST, the Hellcat was doing 1157, and the Gold Dot out of the Hellcat was at 1205 on our average velocity. Both those rounds were 124 grain plus P. This one being 115 grain, moving slower. You have to imagine we're probably not going to see the top performance out of the critical defense that we did out of the other 2, but we'll see. Out of the Echelon, our average velocity was 1124, extreme spread of 15, standard deviation of 6. So again, really consistent round, which gave us a muzzle energy of 324. Again, comparing it to the HST and the Gold Dot, the HST was at 1197 feet per second, and the gold dot was at 1287. So again, we've got a round that's probably going to not perform like the other two. We're probably going to have a little bit less penetration, probably less expansion, but we'll see what we get out of this. And then out of the Armalite AR pistol, the average velocity was 1190, extreme spread of 24, standard deviation of 10, which give us a muzzle energy of 362. Out of the Armalite, the HST did 1296, and the Gold Dot did 1410. So it's getting to where you're getting a whole lot more velocity, and the difference in the energy is going to be quite a bit more out of this one than the other two. So not expecting quite the performance that we got out of the other two, but you never know. We'll get out and see how it goes. Probably the penetration is going to be on the light side here. I'm thinking with a lighter round going slower, we're just not going to get deep enough for what I would be looking for, but it may prove me wrong. It may get out there and do a really good job, but we're going to get everything set up and we're going to get to it. All right, first one up for the gel test for the Critical Defense 115 is going to be the Hellcat Pro. I believe that's a good shot. Let's go down and look at it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Comes in, and at about 2 inches, you start getting expansion. You got this temporary cavity stretch that goes to about maybe almost 3.5. Not a lot going on there, but it does get some expansion. You can see it right there. Let's see what kind of penetration we got here. Penetration is, I'm going to say that's going to be right at about 13.25 before it came back. Looks like it hit that and then came back. So the penetration's fine. I just don't know expansion wise if it's going to be enough for what we're looking for. Just not a lot going on right there. Let's see what we can get out of the echelon. All right, up next we're going to do the echelon, but I turned the camera so maybe you can at least have the gel in the background, so maybe we have a better look this way. But up next, the echelon 4.5 inch. Well, I got that one a little high. I am hot. I am tired. My hands are shaking from the heat. And there ain't just no excuses. It is what it is. But I got that one a little high. Let's go make sure it didn't come out the top. All right, we got that last one a little high. And as my luck would have it, shot out the top. Gonna put one more down in there and see if we can keep it in. Here we go. Echelon 4.5 inch. Yeah, that one stayed in. I think it might be right on top of the Hellcat, but I think we'll be okay there. Let's go down and look at it. All right, so let's see what we got. It's going to be this one here that we're looking at. This one there. And honestly, it doesn't look a whole lot different from the first one. Penetration wise, it's going to be a little bit less. Looks like maybe 12.75, right in there, 12.75. That's like a pretty decent expansion from what I can see here as far as the temporary cavity stretch comes in. And looks like you start getting expansion pretty quick because you can tell it's opening up there, but you don't get a really good temporary cavity stretch till you get about 2 inches, and it's going to go through about 3.5 inches, somewhere close to what the other one did out of the Hellcat. So it's not awful, but I don't think we're going to get quite what we would like to get for a self-defense round here. I'm thinking this thing's going to come up just a little bit short, but we'll get it in the AR pistol here, and we'll see what we get out of it. All right, so the last one up for the critical defense 115 grain is the AR pistol. I think it's a good shot. A little low, but I think we'll be okay there. Let's go look at it. All right, let's see what we got here. Not much. Comes in. No real temporary cavity stretch. I know we're getting expansion on it because you can see it right there. The penetration is, maybe 12 and a half, maybe 12 and a half. So we made the bare minimum of penetration. We'll dig those things out and give you our final thoughts. Okay, we've got everything back in the shop. We're going to get some final weights and measurements here and make sure we are still within our parameters. This is the round out of the Hellcat, out of the Echelon, and out of the AR pistol. And so far, as we're looking to get that 12 to 18 inches of penetration plus half inch on expansion, we've stayed within the numbers. The Hellcat got 13 and a quarter inches on penetration. The Echelon was at 12 and 3/4, and the AR pistol was at 12 and a half. So very consistent across the board. Let's look here and see. This is the one out of the Hellcat. No problem getting good expansion there. It opened up really good, did what it's supposed to do. I don't think we've lost any weight. Started at 115 grain. It's showing 114. I'm betting that's what it started at. Let's check our expansion numbers here. So we got 0.505, 0.506, 0.501. So yes, we did stay within our parameters. So did a pretty good job. Let's move on to the Echelon. And you can tell getting a little bit more of expansion there. This is the round out of the Echelon. This is the round out of the Hellcat. And you can see it's starting to get into that depth a little bit more. Let's check our weight. 114 grain, just the same as the others. So no, we haven't lost anything. So we got 0.55. 0.536, 0.532. So again, very consistent, doing what it's supposed to do. Good job out of that one. All right, let's move to the AR pistol. And again, you can see it's getting a little more mangled now, get a little bit more velocity, a little bit more than really this round is designed for, but it still did a good job. Don't think we've lost anything off of that one. We didn't, showing 114. So as far as the expansion here, and I am going to count the little flyer here on the side because it is part of it. We got 0.59, 0.57, and 0.56. So as it worked with this one, the deeper it gets into the depth, the more expansion you get out. It's a different round than the HST. The HST actually would expand more and was more rigid on the pedals. This one, however, just gets more in depth into the round and it just pushes out more and more. So it did a good job. Did everything that we asked out of it. So, I mean, it gets a pass as far as did it stay within the parameters. It actually did. Final thoughts on the critical defense 115 grain. How did it do? Well, it met all of the criteria that we set out in the beginning, which was 12 to 18 inches of penetration, over a half inch of expansion, It did that out of all 3 barrels. Did it do as good as the HSTs a couple of weeks ago? No, but there's not many rounds that will. However, this round is not really designed for that. It's designed for short barrel pistols like the Hellcat, the P365, the Glock 43, where velocity is generally an issue with a hollow point being able to get in and actually expand like it's supposed to. This round is designed to fill that void. It does well there. However, it did good out of the Echelon and the AR pistol. It kind of fooled me initially on that temporary cavity stretch that I was looking at. And a lot of people will buy into that theory of being able to look at that, and it's a good indication of how the round is doing. FBI has done extensive research here, and yes, we could argue the validity of their research. I get that. However, I do tend to agree with what they're saying on handguns, especially. Don't get too caught up in that temporary cavity stretch. You're going to have to look and make sure you're getting good penetration and good expansion. Base it off of those two, and really those two alone. The temporary cavity stretch is nice, but just don't put too much into that, especially in handguns. Now, if you're talking rifles and over 2,000 feet per second, yeah, there's a little bit more information that will give you, and that temporary may be a little more permanent, but just don't buy into too much with the handguns on that. We've got a lot more of these tests planned. Love getting your feedback. If you have used this round and you've got good experience or bad experience with it, we would love to hear about that. We love hearing about other rounds that you think would work well in this particular test that we're doing. Make sure you continue to give us feedback on that. If you like the content that we're putting out, make sure you like, subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on so that when we put out new content, you will get a notification. And with everything that's going on in this country right now and around the world, I'm going to tell you, make sure you get out and exercise your Second Amendment right. We'll catch you next time.